All right, it's 7 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting to order and we can do roll call when you're ready. Here.
Evans, Kettering's gone. Michael?
Yes.
Schultz?
Yes,
Weiss? Sean?
it's on Zoom.
Hoffman?
Yes.
All right. Everybody had a chance to go over the minutes. Unless there's any changes, we need to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Second it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Right. Taking a look at the agenda, are there any items to be added to the agenda?
I'd like to take one off. The second one, Sudbeck, they didn't get their notification letters out, so they're gonna be moved to next month's. So we'd like to remove them from the agenda.
Okay. Any other changes to the agenda? If not, I'll need a motion to approve the agenda with the removal of the Sudbeck CUP.
I'll make a second.
Motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, then we have conflict of interest declarations. I don't know, can Kathy respond on Zoom or? Okay. Okay, go ahead, Kathy, if you'd like. Okay, we'll go around. Chris Sparkle, no.
Sherry Hoffman, no.
Christy Schultz, none.
Kathy, can you unmute yourself? For some reason we
Can
can't.
you hear me now?
There we go. Kathy, do you want to do your conflict of interest declaration? I think we can assume none unless she says otherwise, so. Okay. Now we got that taken care of. We got a couple minutes to kill before the first agenda item at 7:05. It is 7:05, so the first agenda item is the whole COP. Applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to use your property as a hobby farm in a low-density residential district per Article 6, Section 607. Said property is legally described as Lot 2C, C Hollow, Yankton County, South Dakota, as per plat recorded in book S20, page 402. Is there somebody here to speak on the whole COP? Come on up and state your name for the record, please.
Hey, my name's Andy Holst. We are applying for a conditional use permit, essentially to have 1 to 2 horses on the property. It's 23 acres and the horses would be there primarily only in the summer months. And we are happy to entertain any desires from our neighbors to limit it to just that. That's really our only plan, is for a couple horses on the property.
Is it is it like a pasture
Yeah,
right now?
yeah, it's just rolling pasture ground with cedar trees and things.
So they own this, which is their primary residence, and then they own this a separate lot.
And the access to that is through your residence driveway and everything?
There's actually a state authorized approach right off of 52.
I can hear it.
Was
You
it
can
currently
hear
being used as
And the hair bones up
pasture
there.
all this time, or is it just a new? Use.
We purchased the property in July of last year. And so we're just
Coming out of
being
computer.
proactive. Whoever did want to have
It's
a
up as high as it'll go.
property, we
That's why I have to use headphones.
you and that's what we're doing. And we visited with some other neighbors that are here, and we're more than willing to make limitations to the conditional use permit, because we have no other intentions of using it for other uses other than horses. It is, but we would be drastic. We would basically be starting over for the fencing purposes.
Well, I think as someone that owns horses, you might want to have 2, otherwise they get lonesome. Well, I mean, they just do, they're herd animals. They'll feel more secure. Looks like you have a lot of trees on there, so if you don't ever build a shelter, they'll have shelter underneath the trees, among the trees. And 23 acres is more than enough to support 2 horses. You might need to feed them in the winter if you get a lot of ground cover with snow. Chances are good here in this part of the country, you'll have to, give them some hay. But I mean, for instance, right now, mine are just out pasture. I'm not even feeding them right now because my pasture is open. And you might want to subdivide it because they're lazy. They'll eat where it's easy first and then graze it way down. So, I mean, that's a project for later, but just so you can rotate them in different pens and pastures. But I mean, I don't see significant development around there. If you've got 23 acres, that should be more than adequate room for them to run around in.
By the zoning ordinance with the definition of the hobby farm, you can technically have up to 10 there. It's
Mhm.
1 animal unit per acre, up to 10 at maximum, so he would be within that.
But you definitely have to feed them if you put 10 on there.
You can only have 5 horses, because the horse is 2 animals.
Oh, that's right,
Yeah,
sorry,
2 animal units.
so 5. Does anybody else have any questions for Andy from the board?
As far as like DY water, yeah, we would need to run irrigation from our house, or from our main property over there. Yeah. We do have one of our neighbors who's here that lives directly to the east of the property has expressed interest in in horse as well, and so there's some conversation around watering from that direction too.
Right, thank you.
Yep.
Is there anybody from the public that would wish to comment on this CUP? Come on up, state your name for the record, please.
Good evening. I'm Mel Fish, and we have a property right across the road from the Holtz. So my only concern is I've been in the livestock industry for 47 years before I retired, feedlots, hogs and cattle and dairy. And if you know that the animal units, if they're classified as a hobby farm, there can be up to 50 or 60 goats or sheep, and probably close to 300 chickens. And so a hobby farm is a pretty wide frame. And so we've talked to them, most of, I represent probably about 6 or 8 neighbors that we've talked to. And our concern is that we don't want to see that happen. We don't want 150 sheep out there. And so with the Fimers a few years back, we did, we allowed them to have the hobby farm, I believe it was, and then they attached to that a deal that they were allowed to only have a maximum of 4 horses, no other form of livestock. And I guess that's what we're asking for, not against them getting a hobby farm permit and having a couple horses, or that. We're not against that at all. There's a lot of horses up there. There always has been. But we don't want to have sheep, chickens and guineas and and all that kind of stuff up there. And so that's, I don't know what they actually did with that, but I'll turn it over to him.
Thank
That's
you.
good. I spoke to Mel, and so I pulled up the file and they put 2 conditions on their CUP. One was maximum 4 horses, and it was for the current property owners only. I think there's no concern or distrust with the current owners. They're just worried that if they were to sell it, what the next people can do. So those are the 2 conditions that were put on here, and I've talked to Holst, and they're fine with those 2 conditions too, if that's something you decide to do.
What were the 2 again? Max of 4 horses and
Max of 4 horses, and the CUP was only for the current owners. So if they sold it, it went away.
is there anybody else from the public that wishes to comment? Seeing none, I will close public comment and just further discussion by the board.
I don't see a problem with it. I kind of agree with the gentleman that, CUP goes with your ownership. Because things do happen and then it changes. And I think that as far as leaving that condition on there, 4 horses, 5 horses, somewhere in that neighborhood, the thing about that is we have 13 and it takes, if that's a lot of trees and not much grass, it takes a lot. So that's an issue, but with a horse or 2 or 3, you need 2 because one will run off and
Yep,
find
They
something.
get very sad.
So I would be in favor of the conditions, that the condition stays with the whole family and that maximum 5 horses.
Seems fine.
I think I agree with what you had to say. So
Yeah. I'll second it.
all right, I have a motion by Dennis and a second by Christie. We can take a vote when you're ready.
Barkle,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Hoffman.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. Next agenda item is Neil Lang, conditional use permit. Applicant is requesting a conditional use permit. Applicant wishes to add an accessory structure in an existing campground per Article 11, Section 1107. Said property is legally described as Tract 1, Lang Addition in the northeast quarter of the northwest quarter section 15, township 93 north, range 56 west of the 5th PM, Yankton County, South Dakota. E911 address is 827 Hemi Drive, Yankton, South Dakota. Neil, you want to come up?
Neil Lang. Yeah, I got a permit last fall for the building that I'm putting up now. But I wanted to put a lean-to. The first meeting I came in here and got approved for the building. That night, I thought if I put a stem wall up there, 4-foot stem wall, I'd gain almost another half of the building. A lot cheaper, you know, so I'm going through all of this again. But I want to put a lean-to on the building that I'm putting up right now, what it amounts to. Right. It'd be a 24-foot lean-to. Yeah.
That doesn't change the, I mean, it still meets the setbacks and everything.
Oh,
from
yeah.
Everywhere else.
Yeah.
All the ingress and egress, everything's the same, just a little
Yeah.
bigger building.
It's all, yeah.
He just thought of it about 2-3 days too late.
I even
Yeah.
came in building the next morning and wondered if any way we could get it through, but it was too late.
I guess it's pretty self-explanatory to me. Anybody have any questions?
How wide is it? It's 24 long, and how wide is the lean-to?
It's 24 long and it'll be 100.
Oh, 24
24 wide,
wide
excuse me, and 100 long. yeah.
Okay, I got.
So basically just run the entire length of the new building.
Yes,
Correct.
all right.
And that's coming off the south side of it.
It's coming off the south, top south side.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes the building costs a lot cheaper.
Yeah, and it's getting pretty spendy already.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
All right, any further questions for Neil? Thanks.
Okay.
Is there anybody here that wishes to speak on Neil's CUP? Going once, going twice. All right, I will close public comment. Discussion by the board, or I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use permit to expand the building on one side for a 24 by 100-foot lean-to addition.
I'll second that.
Have a motion by Christie and a second by Sherry. Ready for a vote when you are.
Barkle,
Yes.
Michael. Schultz,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes,
Hoffman.
Yes,
Motion carried. Right. Next agenda item is Urshman Holding LLC. Applicant wishes to rezone from commercial and agricultural to commercial per Article 18, Section 1809, and Article 20, Section 2003. Said property is legally described as Tract B in the south half of the southwest quarter of Section 33, T94 north, range 56 west of the 5th PM, Yankton County, South Dakota. E911 address is 4400 West 31st, Yankton, South Dakota.
Last meeting, you approved a plat. They wanted to have, this is their current commercial lot. They replatted and added this little bit on top. The county commission decided they wanted them to rezone that at the same time. So we're just holding their approval of the plat. So once this rezone goes through, then they'll approve the plat at the same time and it'll be nice and clean.
All right, is somebody here to speak for Urshman Holding? Come on up.
Good evening, I'm Eric Taylor, representing Urshman Holdings. So we're just going back through where the county commission decided that they did not like going through the planning previously where being dual zoned, and so the recommendation that it would all be transferred over to commercial. And that's all that we're asking is to make it all zone the same.
Okay, and like Bill said, it's just the little piece that's
Yes.
up
just
there
the-
that was, so that you submitted for replat last time.
Correct.
And it's currently being used as commercial or whatever anyway, right?
It's used as storage.
So that building up above the commercial building, is that a residence or a
No.
storage building?
Storage building.
Oh, okay, cool.
No.
All right. Any other questions for him?
No, that was my question.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Is there anybody here that wishes to speak on this rezone? State your name for the record. and
Ed
talk-
Waddell,
Say it again, please.
Ed Waddell.
Thank you.
I just do not want the whole thing commercial property, because it was ag and it should stay ag. And I live to the west of it. And, you know, if they get it commercially zoned on the whole thing, they could put a truck stop in there. Or whatever they wanted to put in there, and I'm against that.
So you're opposed to the rest of the field being rezoned?
Right. They can do whatever they want if they get it zoned commercial. And they were turned down in 2006.
I guess I'm not familiar with, in 2006, if they were asking for the entire parcel to be rezoned.
They were,
The application tonight is just for the about 3.5 acres or so. That's directly north of the current commercial zone.
So they submitted a plat last week. They're adding this little piece
yeah,
to this and make one lot here. And so this would be the only part that would be rezoned to commercial. This would all stay ag.
okay. But the other thing I got to say is we spent a lot of money in tax dollars to make a industrial zone. And here we are still building out the country.
You know, if you look through the comments there. I'm a civil engineer, guys. I've been working throughout South Dakota, Nebraska, and Iowa for the last 45 years. A lot of what I have done is to help communities plan and counties, cities of all sizes. Been doing that for 45 years. And when industrial areas are being expanded, there's usually a plan. There's usually a way to address what's happening. I do a lot of environmental engineering. And I know in 2006 or whatever that was, last time this came up, one of the questions we had was, what's going on as far as the manufacturing, as far as air, water, and waste permits, what is required there? Nothing was ever said. There's no, right now, your zoning rules are pretty darn lax. I mean, they're full of holes, just to be honest with you. They are some of the weakest zoning rules around. Anything can be built anywhere out there. And your approval process without any notification, without any site planning, anything else, leaves a lot to be desired. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows what's to be manufactured. Your rules, when I look through your rules, I'm looking through conditional use allowances. It's item 14, manufacturing, distribution, sale, or storage of flammable, combustible, or hazardous materials. All we know is your expand a manufacturing facility.
Actually,
So
we
it's
don't have a
kinda- it
building
kinda needs
permit.
to be a little more
They,
specified.
sir, with all due respect, before they could build anything there, they have to come before us with a building permit. And if it's anything that isn't very extremely kosher with that building permit, it comes before us with the conditional use property.
Is that
The
notified?
conditional use process. And in that conditional use process, they are required to have a detailed site plan and tell us exactly what's gonna be going in there. That's not what this is about. This just is
Excuse me,
about zoning.
excuse me. You already have buildings up there.
Mhm. And that business has been there for a long
I
time.
know it's been there for a long time.
All we're talking
At
about
least the
is
front
rezoning that
buildings
little
have.
piece up there. to the-
Yes, and what I'm saying, you said before anything can be built, before anything can happen, you have to have detailed plans submitted to you. And I just said, there's already buildings up there.
Yes, there are.
And you just
And
said.
that's not what this
they've been
meeting is
operating that
about.
Business for many years. Yes, I understand they've been operating it for many, many years. Now we're expanding.
They're not
It looks to me
expanding,
like
sir.
you've gotten the cart in front of the horse by about at least 3 or 4 years or more.
Okay, sir, they are not asking to build anything now. All they are asking for is a change in zoning.
I understand.
I understand your concern.
I
I do.
understand what you're saying. I'm
But
saying
when
you've already
that
got the building built.
comes, then you can make objections because right now it's all speculative.
Ma'am,
And
the
it-
building's already there. What process is happening out there?
Could I ask Bill a question quick?
Can I address what some of what they said?
Yeah, go ahead.
So they were able to build that building because that section is zoned ag and it's a storage building. So they could do those all over that whole property if they wanted without any kind of conditional use. In ag, they're allowed to build accessory structures. So they can build 100 buildings like that if they want, the way that's zoned now. They're asking to rezone that little bit to conditional use permits to commercial. If they want to go ahead and do more manufacturing, they're going to have to come back with the CUP for the, because we've already discussed that. They were willing to apply for a CUP if necessary, but we have to do this before that.
Right.
And then once this is rezoned, that has no effect on any of the other property there.
Right.
So, was that your question?
Yes, I was gonna ask you if they had a valid building permit for the structures that were on that piece already.
Yes.
Are the
Yes.
adjacent, can I ask a question, please? Are the adjacent landowners notified when this additional facility is built? What
So
purposes and all the rest?
The process is, this is a rezone, so it's just changing from an ag zone district to a commercial zone, which you were notified, obviously. And then if they would wish to add any manufacturing facilities in that zone, they would have to come for a conditional use permit, which you would again get notification. There would be opportunity for you to suggest conditions. There is a list of different conditions that they have to meet and things that we have to go through with them. So it's not just doing whatever they want, wherever they want, once they get this rezone. It's a fairly strict process. And you do get notification every time. And with this application tonight, we're only talking about the 3 or 3.5 acres that are directly north of their current facility.
Okay. Not yet.
All right, thank you. Before I let you come back up, is there anybody else that wants to make a comment? All right, seeing none, come on back up.
So kind of going back to 2006, when we had to go from commercial to light, going on to light industrial to where it currently is now, the zoning commissioner at the time requested that we do the whole area as commercial, and then that got shot down because it was just too much. And so then we agreed to this smaller part. And again, the other part is ag. We're not planning on doing any manufacturing up there. Those are just storage buildings up there. And just like what Bill said, we'd have to get a CUP to do that because again, commercial doesn't allow for manufacturing. We have been visited the state about 3 years ago, and I do have a report from them on environmentals, and they did find that we're a hazardous generator. So if they want to see the report, I do have that. So that's already been talked to about with the state. They actually came out and inspected our facility. So there's not really any issue there. So we're just looking at just trying to make it all the same. Because all we're doing is on that plat is just rezoning it to commercial, not one for a CUP at this time.
Okay, thank you. All right, seeing no other public comment, I will close public comment and discussion by the board. Unless you got something to add, Bill?
No, I'm just ready.
Okay. Yes. Go ahead.
The existing land that is now is commercially zoned according to the map.
This is what it looks like right now.
Right, the red is commercial.
And they did not ask to have this rezoned to commercial.
No, I know,
The county
county.
commission.
Yeah, because they own the property, so.
They want it all conforming.
So as long as they own the property back to the property line.
They own all of this.
Right.
Yeah, and so, like Eric said, initially the zoning administrator back then requested that they do the whole thing. That was not them. That was whoever was in charge.
Right.
And they came to this. So now they're just asking to add this little thing.
Just to the north.
Yep. Everything to the west remains, from right about here west remains ag.
Done?
I guess from what I see, it makes more sense to be commercial. It would be more conforming use that way.
Yeah. And that was the county commission's point, make the whole thing conform.
Right. Technically, they can have storage buildings in ag zone district, but they're really being used in conjunction with the commercial business, so it makes more sense to be zoned commercial.
Well, one thing about it too is it is not furnished property. If they were in trying to turn the whole acreage there, or the whole property into commercial furniture on Highway 50. I don't.
Right, it's not, I don't think it leaves much room for any kind of manufacturing expansion really, but it would make, right.
That right here,
The dark area is the
I think
slough.
that's what you had the environmental inspection done for? Yeah.
Well, unless there's any other discussion, I'd entertain a motion.
I'd make a motion to approve the legal. Tie it all together.
I'll second it.
Motion by Dennis and a second by Christie. Ready to vote when you are.
Barco,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
All right, motion carried.
And if you're concerned about the environment, call the EPA if you think that there's something happening there that is inappropriate. But if they decide to do more manufacturing or build a manufacturing facility on that, they will have to come to us with the CUP.
My point was, I didn't want the whole acreage on it.
Right, but that's being used for their business already,
Right,
you know,
but this,
so.
we're, right, where this isn't dealing with the rest of that property is remaining ag, like you're saying. And now we have to move on to the next agenda item. It's public comment. Bill, check if somebody signed up. Otherwise, unless somebody wants to make a final comment. All right. Public comment is closed. And I need a motion to adjourn.
I will second.
Motion in a second. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Opposed?
Was it Sherry? Was that you that made the
Yes.
second?
Yep, Sherry.